Rain drifted across the windshield like soft scratches of fate, blurring the city lights into trembling streaks of gold. Inside the quiet restaurant, Lily sat alone at a small corner table, fingers tapping nervously against the rim of a water glass. She had dressed with careful hope, a pastel dress, a touch of lip gloss, a heart she wished wasn't so easy to bruise. Blind dates weren't her thing, but this one, it felt different before it ever began. Maybe because she needed something to feel different. Maybe because she was tired of disappearing into the background of her own life. She didn't know yet that the moment the door opened behind her, everything would shift. Before we go deeper, where in the world are you watching from right now? It amazes me how far a single story can travel, across cities, oceans, and quiet hearts. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how wide kindness still reaches. Ethan arrived late, but not the careless, dismissive kind of late. The kind carried on shoulders that had learned to hold too much. He paused at the entrance, rain clinging to his jacket, breath unsteady as if he'd run more than just a few blocks. His eyes scanned the room, searching for a woman he'd only seen in a single profile photo. But when he found Lily, his posture softened at once. She stood halfway, unsure, offering a small smile that looked like it had been stitched back together too many times. "Lily?" he asked gently. "Yes, hi." She tucked a loose curl behind her ear. "I'm sorry," he said, sliding into the sea across from her. "My sitter canceled and He stopped, not wanting to overshare. "A single dad?" she asked softly. He blinked in surprise. "Is it that obvious?" "No," she smiled. "You just look like someone who carries more than he admits." Ethan chuckled, the kind that lifts and hurts at the same time. That is scarily accurate. Their waiter arrived, giving them a moment to breathe. The restaurant was warm, glowing with soft amber lights and the faint scent of baked bread drifting from the kitchen. Lily's shoulders loosened. Ethan's gaze steadied. Something about the ordinary setting made their meeting feel strangely safe. For the first 10 minutes, they spoke cautiously, like two strangers afraid to step on the fragile ground between them. But then came the moment that shifted everything. Lily reached for her bag, embarrassed. "I wasn't sure if you'd come. Blind dates aren't usually my luck." "What do you mean?" "My last date never showed. And the one before that left 5 minutes in because I looked too quiet." She laughed softly, but her eyes dimmed. Ethan leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice low and steady. "Well, I showed up. And I'm not leaving." Her throat tightened. She tried to blink away the sting, but Ethan saw it, really saw it. "If you had been there," the narrator's voice softened, "what would you have done? Be honest. Tell me in the comments. And if words don't come, just tap like to prove compassion still matters." They ordered a simple dinner, pasta for him, soup for her, but neither cared much for the food. The conversation took on its own pulse, slow but warm. Ethan spoke about his daughter, Ava, a 5-year-old with a laugh bright enough to outshine storms. Lily listened, drawn in by how softly he described her, how every word carried love instead of burden. Lily shared pieces of herself too, but carefully, as if each one needed permission to breathe. Her job at a local library, her love for quiet corners, her fear of going home to silence she pretended didn't bother her. "You know," Ethan said, stirring his drink, "you don't seem quiet. You seem gentle. There's a difference." Her cheeks warmed. No one had ever said that to her. No one had ever cared to. When the lights flickered during a brief power surge, Lily flinched, barely, but enough. Ethan reached out instinctively, his hand lightly brushing hers. He didn't press, didn't hold, just offered presence. And she didn't pull away. Their fingertips rested together, uncertain but sincere. "Can I ask something?" he murmured. She nodded. "Why did you agree to tonight?" Lily looked down at their hands, at how naturally his thumb hovered near hers without trying to claim a thing. Because, she whispered, I wanted to believe someone might stay, even for just one evening. Ethan exhaled softly, the kind of breath that carried unspoken storms. Lily, I stayed because you're the only one who showed up. She looked up, startled. What? He swallowed. This blind date was arranged by my colleague. He told me several women might come by to meet me, but you're the only one who did. The hum of the restaurant faded beneath the weight of his confession. Something warm flickered in Lily's chest, not pride, but something gentler. Something like worth. Their hands touched a little more fully now. I'm glad it was me, she said quietly. He smiled. A real one. Outside, the rain had stopped, but neither of them noticed. Their world had narrowed to a small table, 2 untouched plates, and the quiet discovery of 2 lonely hearts finally meeting someone who understood the silent ache beneath the surface. And just when Lily thought the night couldn't grow softer, Ethan's phone buzzed, a call from the sitter. His face tensed instantly. Everything okay? Lily asked. He hesitated. It's Ava. But the sentence hung unfinished, suspended. As the night shifted once more, Ethan stared at the phone screen, and the faint color in his face drained. The restaurant's warm light suddenly felt harsher, sharper, as if the world had tilted half an inch sideways. Lily leaned closer, her voice soft but steady. Ethan, what is it? He swallowed, pressing the phone to his ear. Hello? Yes, this is Ethan. Lily watched his expression shift, confusion first, then worry, then something far heavier. His shoulders, already tense from years of carrying too much, tightened even more. Yes, he said quickly. I'm coming. I'm on my way. He ended the call with trembling fingers. What happened? Lily asked. He looked at her as if torn between staying and sprinting through the doors. Ava wasn't feeling well earlier. The sitter said she woke up crying and she's running a fever. Lily stood immediately as if it were instinct. You need to go. I'm sorry, he breathed, standing as well. I didn't want tonight to end like this. It's okay, she whispered. She's your daughter. But when he turned, ready to leave, something inside Lily tugged painfully, the sudden emptiness, the abrupt coldness of an unfinished night, the echo of her old fear. People leave. He paused. Noticing that shift in her eyes, he stepped closer again, gently taking her hand the way someone holds something delicate. Lily, I'm coming back. I promise. I just need to get to her. That did something to her, something small but fragile, like the sound of glass not breaking. Go, she urged, squeezing his hand. She needs you more than I do right now. He nodded, but he still didn't let go until the very last second. The moment Ethan stepped out into the night, Lily stood very still by the table. Around her, couples laughed, glasses clinked, forks scraped plates. Life moved as it always did. But inside her, something felt paused, suspended, waiting for an answer she wasn't sure she deserved. She slowly gathered her things, leaving her half-eaten soup behind. When she stepped outside, the rain had begun again, soft and almost apologetic. She wrapped her arms around herself as she walked toward the parking lot. That was when she noticed. Ethan hadn't gone far. He was leaning against his car just a few spaces away, struggling to start the engine. Not because it was broken, but because his hands were shaking too much. Without thinking, Lily approached. Ethan? He looked up, startled, wiping at his eyes quickly. Too quickly. My ex-wife? He began, voice raw. She used to handle everything. Not the love. She didn't have the patience for that, but the emergencies. The fevers. The mess. And when she left, it was just me. And sometimes, his voice cracked, barely audible. Sometimes I feel like I'm not enough for her. Lily stepped closer. You are. You don't know that. Yes, I do, she whispered. I saw it tonight. His breath trembled, and for the first time, she saw through the armor he wore, the CEO confidence, the calm, the quiet composure. Under all of it was a man scared of failing the one person he loved most. Please drive carefully, she said. He nodded, steadier now. Thank you, Lily, for everything tonight. And before either could second-guess the moment, he leaned forward and pressed a soft, brief kiss to her forehead. A promise without words. A beginning without certainty. He stepped into the car and drove away. Lily watched the taillights fade until they became too small. Red stars swallowed by rain dot, then she exhaled, a shaky breath. That felt like letting go and holding on at the same. Time dot as she turned to leave, her phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number reached the hospital. She's burning up. I'll keep you updated. Lily's heart clenched. Not because of fear, but because he thought of her even now. Have you ever had someone step in at a moment you felt completely alone? Right, yes, and tell me who it was. Maybe gratitude can travel further than we think. She sat in her car for a long moment, forehead against the steering wheel, letting the quiet soak through her. She wasn't used to someone choosing her, not even for updates, not even for comfort. But Ethan had, and it was strange. How much that meant? She drove home slowly, her mind replaying every detail. The touch of his hand, the softness in his voice, the way he said her name. The kiss to her forehead lingered like a warm echo dot by the time she entered her small apartment. Midnight had crept close. She changed into sweatpants, brewed tea she barely drank, and curled up by the window. The city lights blinked softly in the distance, like tired eyes refusing sleep. Her phone lit again, admitted her. Fever at 103. She keeps asking for me. Lily typed back before she could overthink. Stay strong. She'll be okay. She has you? His reply came faster this time. I'm scared, Lily. She pressed her hand to her chest. She knew fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of losing people before she even had them. I'm here, she wrote. Stay with her. I'm not going anywhere. The truth was, she didn't know where any of this was going. But for the first time in a long time, she wanted to find out Dot, and then somewhere after 1:30 a.m., there was another message. They want to run more tests. But the message cut off there, leaving Lily wide awake. Breath caught in the dark. The night wasn't done with them yet. Asterisk Lily stared at the half-sent message, her heartbeat flickering in her throat. They want to run more tests. The words ended there, unfinished, hanging like a frayed thread pulled from something delicate. She waited 1 minute, 3, 7, but nothing else came. The silence from Ethan's end felt heavier than the night outside her window. She typed, Ethan? Are you still there? No response. Her mind spiraled, even though she tried to study it. Hospitals had a way of swallowing time, turning minutes into long aching stretches where hope held its breath. She imagined him sitting beside Ava's tiny bed, his large hands wrapped around her smaller ones, fear pressing hard into his eyes. Finally, unable to sit still, Lily rose and paced the small living room. Her tea had gone cold. Her chest felt too tight for someone who technically barely knew him, but emotions didn't care about time frames. Sometimes connections sparked within minutes, not months. At 2:08 a.m., her phone finally buzzed. Sorry. She cried herself to sleep. Fever still high. They're checking for possible infection. Lily sank onto the couch, exhaling shakily. You don't need to apologize. Stay with her. I'm praying for her, okay? There was a pause then. Thank you. It helps more than you know. She pressed her phone to her chest, eyes burning, not from exhaustion, but from the strange, overwhelming tenderness blooming inside her. For him. For Ava. For the fragile thread weaving their lives together tonight. But just as she let her guard lower, a new message came. My ex-wife just showed up. Lily froze, her breath stilled. Her stomach tightened. Her fingers hovered over the screen, unsure whether to ask or to stay silent. Ethan's next message came faster, harsher. She's yelling at the nurses. Says I'm overreacting. Says Ava gets fevers all the time. Lily's jaw clenched. Is Ava scared? Terrified. She was shaking when she saw her. The image broke something inside Lily. A mother should comfort, not frighten. She typed slowly, carefully, then stay by her side. Let her see the parent who's calm, not the one who storms in. Another pause. Then, you always know the right thing to say. Lily didn't feel like she did. She just cared deeply, instinctively, and maybe that had to count for something. Rain tapped softly against her window. The clock blinked past 2:30 a.m. She curled into the couch, hugging a pillow to her chest, keeping her eyes on the phone as if her attention alone might protect them. Both minutes stretched. Then her phone rang. Not a message. A call. Ethan. Her breath stuttered as she answered. Ethan? His voice cracked instantly. I had to step out. I didn't want Ava to hear us fighting. I'm outside the hospital. Lily, I'm losing it. She closed her eyes, imagining him standing under cold hospital lights, rain clinging to his hair, shoulders shaking from more than exhaustion. Tell me what happened, she whispered. She accused me of using Ava to avoid moving on, he said, voice trembling with anger and hurt. She said I shouldn't be out on dates when Ava's this young. That tonight happened because I was being irresponsible. That's not true. She said you were irresponsible too for going out with a man with a child. He laughed, but it cracked halfway through. She doesn't even know you, but she said I'm dragging strangers into Ava's life. Lily's throat tightened painfully. I'm not in her life, she whispered. You were tonight, he said. You still are. You didn't walk away. You stayed even though you didn't have to. Her breath hitched because he meant it. Every word. And she realized something terrifyingly beautiful. Ethan didn't see her as a stranger anymore. She swallowed, steadying her voice. Listen to me. Your daughter needs stability, not perfection. And you're giving her that. You're there. You're trying. That's what matters. The line was quiet for a beat, except for the sound of his uneven breathing. Lily, he whispered, can I ask you something? And be honest, of course. If this were your life, if you were here with me right now, would you stay? Even with all this chaos? Her heart slammed against her ribs. She didn't know how to answer. Not because she didn't feel something. She did. Deeply, but because hope was a fragile thing, easily crushed if held the wrong way. She inhaled shakily. Ethan, chaos doesn't scare me. People who run do. And you're not running. Before she could say more, he broke, just a little, a soft, painful sound slipping through the phone. The kind a man makes when he's been strong for too long. Lily whispered, you don't have to be okay right now. Not with me. Now it's your turn. Share one small good thing you did recently. Write it below so others remember that humanity still lives. Your story might light someone's path tonight. Ethan sniffed, grounding himself. She finally stopped yelling. The nurses asked her to calm down or leave. I'm going back in now. Go, Lily said softly. Ava needs you more than anything. Stay awake? He asked quietly. Just until the results come? I'm here, she whispered. I'm not going anywhere. He let out a trembling breath, a sound that felt like trust forming in real time. Before hanging up, and Lily sat there in the dim light, her heart wrapped around people she'd met only hours ago, yet felt tied to in a way she couldn't explain. Minutes later, her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Ethan Dodd, it was an unknown number. A message that made her blood run cold. You don't know his past. Stay away from him. She stared at the words, pulse pounding as the room closed in around her. The night had cracked open, and something darker was seeping through. Asterisk. Lily's breath faltered as she stared at the message glowing on her screen. You don't know his past. Stay away from him. The words felt like cold fingers closing around her throat. For a moment, she sat completely still, the room quiet except for the hum of her lamp and the faint whistle of wind pressing against the window. She read the message again and again, as if repetition might make it clearer, less sharp, less threatening, but it didn't. Her fingers trembled as she typed back. Who is this? No response. She tried again. Do you know Ethan? Nothing. A hollow tension crept through her chest. She didn't know Ethan well, not truly, but she had felt something honest in him tonight, something raw and unguarded. Still, this message clung to her mind like a shadow. Her phone buzzed again, and she jumped, but it was Ethan this time. Ava's fever dropped a little. She's resting. Lily exhaled shakily, her eyes softening. She wanted to tell him about the message. She wanted to ask who would warn her so ominously. But one look at his text, the relief tucked between the lines, and she couldn't do it. Not now. Not when he was holding himself together by threads. Instead, she wrote, I'm so glad. Stay with her. I'm right here. But even as she hit send, the earlier message continued to pulse at the edge of her thoughts, like a bruise she couldn't ignore. She stood and walked to the window, pushing it open just an inch. Cold air swept inside, brushing over her face and grounding her. The city below looked washed out under the late-night drizzle. Streetlights bending through the mist like tired halos. Her phone buzzed again. Another unknown message, but this time, it wasn't a threat. It was a photo. A little girl lying in a hospital bed. Ava. Her cheeks flushed with fever. Tiny hands curled under a thin blanket. And sitting beside her, holding her hand, head bowed. Ethan. Lily's chest tightened. The tenderness in the photo was palpable, almost overwhelming. Whoever sent it wasn't trying to threaten her. They were trying to show her something, but why? Before she could think further, another text came. He's a good father, but he's broken. Be careful. Asterisk, then silence. Lily sat down slowly, her pulse hammering. She didn't know what story lay behind Ethan's quiet eyes, what wounds hid beneath his calm, what scars he kept tucked under the weight of responsibility. But she did know one thing. Broken didn't mean dangerous. Broken meant human. Still the warning gnawed at her. She typed one more message. Please tell me who you are. No answer. A hollow knot formed in her stomach as she set the phone down. She curled back onto the couch, hugging her knees to her chest. The night felt heavier now, as if something unseen was shifting around her. She didn't realize she had fallen. Asleep until her phone chimed loudly at 4:56 a.m. She jolted upright. Heart-pounding. A message from Ethan. They found the infection. Starting antibiotics. She's stable now. Relief washed through her like warmth after cold. Thank God, and you. His reply came fast. Exhausted, but better. Seeing her breathe easier, it's everything. Lily smiled gently. She could almost picture him sitting slumped in a plastic chair, eyes tired but full of fierce love. Then, unexpectedly, he called. She answered softly, Ethan? His voice was rough, threaded with exhaustion. I wanted to hear someone who calms me. And tonight, that's you. Asterisk, her throat tightened. I'm glad I can be that. She kept asking for me, he whispered. She kept saying, Daddy, don't go. And every time I kept thinking, God, what if something happened while I was out with you? That's not your fault, Lily said, firmer now. You deserve moments too. You deserve a life beyond fear, do I? He asked quietly. She nodded, even if he couldn't see it. Yes, you do. There was a soft shuffle on his end, the sound of him standing. Lily, when this is over, when Ava's home, can I see you again? Her heart stumbled. I'd like that, even with the chaos. He whispered, especially with it. Now it's your turn. Share the one kind thing you did recently. Write it below so someone scrolling in the dark remembers that kindness still lives. Your words might lift a stranger tonight. Ethan inhaled shakily, grounding himself. I'll update you in a few hours. Try to sleep a little. She nodded. You should too. Not until she wakes, he murmured when the call ended. Lily rested the phone on her chest, letting the steady thump of her heartbeat settle. But her peace was short-lived. Her phone buzzed again, the unknown number. One last message. If you choose him, be ready for everything he comes with. Lily's breath hitched. She didn't know if it was a warning or a plea, but she did know one thing. She wasn't walking away. Not now. Not after tonight. Asterisk morning crept in slowly, painting faint gold across Lily's apartment walls. She hadn't slept long, but the little rest she managed felt thin and restless, stretched over the weight of everything unfolding in just a few hours. Ethan, Ava, the messages. The warning that hung like a shadow she couldn't trace. Her phone buzzed at 7:12 a.m. Ethan, Ava woke up. She asked for pancakes. Ethan, I think she's turning a corner. A smile tugged at Lily's lips. Children had a way of being light even in darkness. Lily, that's a good sign. How's her fever? A few seconds, then Ethan, down to 99. They might discharge her by afternoon. Relief washed through her again, warm and soft, but before she could type a reply, her screen lit up with another notification. The unknown number. Her heart sank as she opened it. He didn't tell you why she left him, did he? Lily's stomach twisted. She typed with trembling fingers. Tell me who you are. This time, the reply was immediate. I'm the sitter. Lily froze. She knew the sitter only from Ethan's brief mention. Someone who canceled at the last minute. Someone he trusted enough to leave his child with. But why would the sitter send warnings? Why would she interfere? And how did she get Lily's number? Before she could respond, another message appeared. He's a good man. Please believe that. But his past, it's heavy. I just don't want you blind to it. Lily's breath shortened. Why tell me this now? A pause. Because he's letting you in. And the last time he let someone in, he shattered. Her pulse hammered. She wanted to ask more. She needed to know more. But something inside her whispered to stop, to wait, not because the sitter was wrong, but because half-truths in the wrong moment could wound deeper than lies. Her doorbell suddenly rang. She nearly jumped. No one visited her this early. Heart thudding. She moved to the peephole and peeked through. Her breath caught. Standing outside, still wearing last night's clothes, hair damp from morning mist. Exhaustion written across every line of his face. Ethan? Lily opened the door, stunned. Ethan. What are you? He stepped inside before she could finish, but not forcefully, more like a man desperate to hold on to something steady. The moment the door closed behind him, his composure cracked. I couldn't wait, he said quietly. Lily searched his face. Is Ava okay? She's sleeping, he whispered. My sister came to stay with her at the hospital for a few hours. He hesitated, voice rough. I just needed to see you. Her heart softened instantly. Did something happen? He exhaled, shoulders slumping. Yeah, something happened. She led him to the couch, and he sat heavily, elbows on his knees. Hands clasped so tightly his knuckles whitened. Ethan, she murmured. Sitting beside him, talk to me. He closed his eyes, as if bracing himself against a storm. You asked last night if I'm scared. I said yes, but I didn't tell you why. Lily's stomach tightened. The sitter's messages echoed in her mind. He looked at her then, really looked, and there was something raw in his gaze. Something unguarded. Something that hurt. My marriage didn't end peacefully, he said. It ended because my ex-wife walked out. Not just on me, but on Ava. Lily's breath caught. Ethan continued, voice trembling. She said mother had trapped her. Said she felt too young, too suffocated. And one night she just left a note. Our daughter was 2. Pain flickered across his face, sharp and deep. I tried to keep everything together. I tried to fix what couldn't be fixed. And when I finally filed for divorce, she blamed me, said I pushed her away by being too focused on Ava, too protective, too soft. Lily shook her head gently. That's not your fault. But it broke me, Ethan whispered. It broke my trust. It made me afraid to let anyone close. Afraid they'd see all the cracks and choose to walk away too. Lily's chest tightened painfully. Ethan, he swallowed hard. And now you know. Now you see what she saw, the mess, the struggles, the fear. And I was terrified you'd walk away first. Her heart ached, not from fear, but from the truth of him. She reached out slowly and placed her hand over his. His fingers trembled, but he didn't pull away. If that moment hit you hard, leave it. Sometimes one small symbol says what our hearts can't. Ethan blinked, breath unsteady, eyes glistening. I didn't want to burden you with this. Not so soon. Ethan, Lily whispered, her voice breaking with softness. You're not a burden. You're a man who's been carrying pain alone for too long. His eyes finally met hers, and the quiet longing in them felt like gravity. Pulling her closer, I didn't want to lose you, he said. You haven't, she whispered. Silence settled between them, not empty, but full. Full of unspoken promises, fragile hope, and something tender growing quietly in the cracks of both their lives. But before the moment could settle completely, her phone buzzed again from the table. The unknown number. One more message. Ask him why he never talks about the night she left. Lily's breath hitched. Her heart faltered. Because this time, it didn't sound like a warning dot. It sounded like the beginning of a truth he hadn't told yet. A truth that might change everything. Asterisk, the notification chimed sharply in the quiet apartment, slicing through the fragile moment between them. Lily's stomach tightened as she glanced at the message glowing on her phone. Ask him why he never talks about the night she left. Her pulse stuttered. The sitter's words felt heavier now, not like gossip, not like malice, but like someone nudging her toward a truth buried deep enough to hurt. Ethan noticed the shift in her expression instantly. His brows creased with concern. Lily, what is it? She swallowed, torn between protecting his heart and honoring the knot forming in her own. I got another message. His face went pale. From who? About Ava? She shook her head slowly. About the night your ex-wife left. Ethan froze. His breath stalled in his chest. His jaw tightened just enough to reveal pain he didn't try to hide. It was the first time Lily saw him look afraid of her, afraid of what she might think, afraid of what she might learn. He leaned back, hands clasped, staring at the floor. Lily, there are parts of that night I don't want to remember, let alone talk about. Her heart softened instantly. You don't owe me anything you're not ready to share. But he shook his head, guilt flickering across his eyes. No. If someone is sending you messages about my past, I owe you honesty, especially now. Lily waited, giving him the space he didn't know he needed. Outside the window, a breeze brushed softly against the glass. The city was waking, car engines murmuring, distant voices carrying from the street, but inside the apartment, everything felt suspended. As if the world was giving Ethan permission to break quietly, he inhaled slowly. That night, she didn't just leave. Lily's breath caught. She took Ava with her. The words shook in the air. Ethan clenched his fists. I came home late from a work meeting. I wasn't supposed to be gone long, but everything ran over. When I walked in, the house was dark. Her clothes were gone. Ava's things were gone. His voice cracked, barely. There was a note saying she needed space, but space isn't something you take a 2-year-old into. Lily covered her mouth, heart twisting painfully. I panicked, Ethan whispered. I searched everywhere. I called everyone. I argued with the police because they said it wasn't technically kidnapping. They kept telling me to wait, to breathe. But how do you breathe when your baby is just gone? Tears welled behind his eyes, though he fought them with every breath. She brought her back 3 days later, he said. Ava was sick, hungry, exhausted from crying. And when I held her, she clung to me like she thought I might disappear too. Lily felt her heart splinter. My ex-wife wasn't cruel, he said softly. Just careless, lost, so desperately unhappy she didn't see what she was doing to her own daughter. And you've been afraid ever since? Lily whispered. That letting anyone close might risk hurting Ava again. Ethan nodded slowly. Shame, or something that resembled it, flickered across his face. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you thinking I lived in the past, or that I'm incapable of moving forward. She shook her head gently. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. He closed his eyes tightly, a breath shuddering out of him. Then Lily's phone buzzed again, the sitter. She hesitated, then turned the screen to Ethan. I told her because she deserves the truth, and because she might be good for you. Ethan stared at the message, stunned. That came from the sitter? Lily nodded. He rubbed his forehead. She's like family to me. She helped a lot after my ex left. I guess she's protective. And worried, Lily murmured. And meddling? He muttered with a broken laugh. The tension cracked, just slightly, and Lily exhaled, relief trickling through her. Ethan leaned back against the couch, head tilted toward the ceiling as if the confession had exhausted him. Ethan, she said softly, I don't run from broken people. I don't run from truth either. He looked at her, really looked, eyes glassy but warm. I've been waiting years for someone to say something like that. Her chest ached, full and tender. He reached for her hand, slowly, uncertainly, as if afraid she might pull away at the last second. She didn't. Their fingers intertwined with a quiet click of belonging. His thumb brushed over her knuckles, grounding himself in her presence. Be honest. Could you forgive after what they did? Type forgive if you could, or never if that kind of pain would break you too deeply. Ethan took a long breath, steadying himself. There's something else, he murmured. Something I haven't said yet? Lily's heart paused. You can tell me? He nodded, swallowing hard. My ex-wife? She's trying to come back into Ava's life, suddenly, fiercely, and not because she wants to, but because her new relationship fell apart. Lily's chest tightened sharply. She started sending me messages last week, he said. Threatening court, custody battles. She's unstable right now, and I'm scared she hurt Ava again. Lily squeezed his hand. Ethan, you're not alone. But before he could respond, his phone rang, shrill and urgent. He answered immediately. Hello? Yes, this is Ethan. Silence. A soft gasp. Then Ava? Is she what happened? Lily's heart plummeted. Ethan's face went white. His breath lodged in his throat. She collapsed, he whispered. They're rushing her for tests. I have to go. Lily stood instantly. I'm coming with you. He looked at her, broken and grateful all at once. Lily, please. I can't I can't do this alone. She grabbed her keys, her bag, and stepped beside him. They ran out the door together, into fear, into uncertainty, into something that would test the fragile bond forming between them. The hallway lights blurred around them as the elevator doors slid closed. Ethan's hand found hers, held tightly, desperately, and neither let go. Asterisk. The drive to the hospital felt unreal. The kind of moment where the world narrowed into a single stretch of road and two hearts beating far too fast. Dawn was barely rising, casting a faint bruised purple across the sky. Ethan gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles looked carved from stone. Lily sat beside him, her hand resting over his forearm, grounding him with quiet steadiness. She was fine 2 hours ago, he whispered, voice barely holding together. How did it get worse so fast? Kids crashed suddenly, Lily murmured, trying to keep her voice calm for him. But they also bounced back suddenly. Hang on to that. He nodded, but fear clung to him like a second skin. When they reached the hospital, Ethan barely parked before leaping out. Lily rushed after him, following as he sprinted across the lobby floor, shoes slapping against the tile. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed softly, casting a sterile glow that made everything feel colder. They reached the pediatric wing, where a nurse intercepted them. "Ethan Hall?" she asked gently. "Yes," he panted. "My daughter, Ava Hale, you said she fainted," the nurse confirmed softly, "but she's awake now." They moved her to a private observation room. "The doctor will explain more." Some of the tension in Ethan's shoulders melted, but only enough for him to breathe again. "Can we see her?" Lily asked up. The nurse nodded. "Follow me." As they walked through the corridor, Ethan's hand brushed Lily's, accidental at first, but then he laced their fingers together deliberately, as if he needed one solid thing to hold on to. She squeezed back without hesitation. When they entered the room, Ava lay curled on the bed, a small oxygen tube resting gently beneath her nose. Her cheeks were flushed, but her eyes fluttered open at the sound of the door. "Daddy?" Her voice was tiny, raspy, but alive. Ethan broke. He rushed to her side, voice trembling. "Hey, baby. Daddy's here." "I'm right here." He knelt beside the bed and kissed her forehead, brushing her hair back with shaking hands. Ava gave a faint smile, her little fingers reaching for him. "Don't go." "Never," he whispered. "I'm not going anywhere." Lily stepped quietly to the other side of the bed, staying a respectful distance, but Ava's gaze drifted to her. Big, curious, innocent eyes. "You came too," she murmured weakly. Lily swallowed. "Of course I did." "You're nice," Ava whispered. "Daddy likes you." Ethan's breath hitched. "Ava," Lily smiled softly, her eyes stinging. "I like him too." Before emotion could swell too much, the doctor walked in, a middle-aged man with tired eyes but kind presence. "Mr. Hawley," he greeted. "Good to see you again, though I wish it were under better circumstances." Ethan stood immediately. "What happened? Is she okay?" The doctor flipped through the chart. "She's stable for now." The fainting was likely due to a sudden drop in blood pressure combined with the infection. "The antibiotics are working, but her little body's been fighting hard." "Is she in danger?" Ethan asked, voice cracking. "She's past the critical point," the doctor reassured. "But we'll keep her for monitoring today. If all looks good, she can go home tonight." Relief rippled through Ethan so strongly his knees buckled for a moment. Lily gently steadied him. The doctor left after giving a few instructions. Silence settled, soft and warm. Ethan sat on the bed beside Ava, holding her tiny hand as she slowly drifted back to sleep, exhausted. Lily stood quietly, watching father and daughter, the love between them so raw and fierce it almost glowed. A moment later, Ethan lifted his gaze to her. "You being here, I don't know how to thank you." You don't have to, Lily whispered. You never have to thank me for caring. He stared at her with something deeper than gratitude, something that made her chest pull tight, something like the beginning of trust, or the return of hope. He stood and walked toward her, stopping just inches away. I'm scared, he admitted softly, but not of you. I'm scared of needing someone again. Lily's voice broke. Needing someone isn't weakness, Ethan. It's human. He lowered his forehead to hers, gently, hesitantly, as if the moment itself might shatter if he moved too fast. His breath trembled against her skin. Don't disappear, he whispered. Please. I'm not going anywhere, she whispered back. His hand slid to her cheek, brushing a tear she didn't even feel fall. The hospital room around them blurred into a quiet haze, just the faint beep of machines and the soft breathing of a sleeping child. If you believe love still wins, comment Amen. Let's fill this moment with hope. Someone scrolling right now might need to see it more than they know. Ethan stepped back slightly, eyes still fragile with emotion. When Ava wakes up, would you stay with us a while? Maybe read to her? She likes when voices are gentle. Lily nodded instantly. I'll stay as long as she wants me. His eyes soft truly, deeply, in a way Lily hadn't seen yet. And what about me? He asked quietly. Would you stay? For me too? Her breath caught, warmth blooming beneath her ribs. Yes, she whispered. For you too. A faint sound came from the doorway. Lily turned, the sitter. She stood there, arms crossed, eyes sharp but not unkind. I see you told her, she said to Ethan. He exhaled. I did. The sitter nodded once, then looked at Lily. Then there's one more thing she needs to hear. Something you haven't told her yet. Ethan stiffened. Lily's heart plunged. What? Thing, she whispered. The sitter stepped inside. Closing the door behind her, that night, she said softly, your ex-wife didn't just leave because she was unhappy. Ethan's entire body went still. She left because she wasn't supposed to be alone with Ava in the first place. Lily felt the room tilt. The sitter continued gently, Ethan, you have to tell her the truth. All of it. Ethan's eyes filled with a pain that looked older than heartbreak. He drew a shaky breath and finally began to speak. Ethan didn't speak at first. His chest rose and fell in uneven breaths, as if his lungs were remembering how to work under the weight of something he had buried far too deep. Lily waited, her pulse trembling through her fingertips. The sitter stayed by the door, arms folded, watching him with the same expression someone uses when urging a person to jump even though the fall terrifies them. Finally, Ethan sat down, not on the chair. Not on the sofa, but on the floor beside Ava's bed, his back against the wall. As if the truth he carried needed him grounded, held up by something sturdier than his shaking body, he lifted his eyes to Lily. Before I tell you, he whispered, I need you to know. I'm not the man I was back then. Lily nodded slowly. I'm here. Just tell me. He swallowed hard, fingers trembling as he intertwined them. The night she left, she wasn't supposed to be with Ava because she'd been drinking. The words entered the room like a cold wind. Lily's breath halted. Ethan continued, voice raw. I didn't know she'd started drinking again. She promised she was done. She promised. And that night, she was supposed to wait for me to come home so I could take over. But she didn't want to wait. She wanted space. She felt trapped. So she packed her things, strapped Ava into the car, and drove off. Lily covered her mouth, eyes stinging. I got home, Ethan whispered, and the house was empty. I called her. No answer. I called the sitter. She didn't know anything. I called everyone. Then his voice cracked so violently it sounded like something inside him tore open. I found her car on the side of the road an hour later. His breath trembled. She pulled over because she got dizzy. She didn't crash. Ava wasn't hurt. But she shouldn't have been driving. She shouldn't have taken her at all. Lily's heart twisted painfully. She begged me not to call the police, he said, voice hoarse. She cried. She said it was a mistake. A bad night. She swore she'd never do it again. And you believed her, Lily whispered. I wanted to, he said. I wanted so badly to believe she could still be the mother Ava deserved. The sitter stepped forward. But she wasn't. She kept spiraling. And after she took Ava again 3 days later, Ethan filed for temporary custody. Ethan's eyes burned as he looked at Lily. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you thinking I'd failed my family. I didn't want you thinking I couldn't protect my daughter. Lily knelt beside him, her hand gently covering his trembling one. You did protect her. You still are. But I was blind, he whispered. Blind to her struggles. Blind to how unhappy she was. And I'm terrified I'll be blind again. What if I trust the wrong person? What if I trust too easily? Or not enough? What if I choose someone who hurts Ava? And what if, Lily whispered softly, you choose someone who won't? His breath stalled as her words slipped into the cracks of his fear. The sitter exhaled, stepping closer. He needs someone steady, someone gentle, someone who won't run when things get dark. Lily's gaze didn't waver. I'm not running. Ethan looked up, eyes wet. Why? Because, Lily said softly, your daughter needs love, and so do you. And I'm not afraid of the parts of you that hurt. Silence filled the room, a tender, trembling silence. Ava stirred softly, her small voice breaking through the emotion. Daddy? Ethan rushed to her side, brushing her hair back. I'm here, baby. Daddy's right here. Ava blinked tiredly, her eyes drifting to Lily. You stayed? Lily smiled through tears. I did. Ava weakly extended her hand. Read story? Ethan looked at Lily, a quiet plea mixed with the softest hope. She nodded and gently took the children's book from the bedside table. As she read, her voice low and soothing, Ava's eyes slowly fluttered shut, her breathing easing into a peaceful rhythm. When the story ended, Ethan leaned close to Lily, his forehead brushing hers in a quiet, desperate thank you. I don't want to lose you, he whispered. You won't. She breathed back. The sitter smiled faintly and slipped out. Leaving them in the warm hush of the dim room, Ethan cupped Lily's cheek, tracing away a tear. I think this is the first time since the divorce that I've felt hope. She pressed her hand over his. Then hold on to it. Let it hurt. Let it heal. His voice dropped to a trembling whisper. Lily, if this becomes something real, if this becomes something deep, are you ready for everything that comes with me? The weight, the chaos, the child, the past. She didn't hesitate. Ethan, love doesn't come in tidy pieces. It comes as a whole storm, and I'm not afraid of storms. He inhaled sharply, the kind of breath someone takes when they realize they're not alone anymore. If this story moved you, don't scroll past quietly. Tap like, not for me, but for the soul who carried this pain and still stayed kind. One click can be your way of saying, I felt you. Ethan pulled her into a soft, trembling embrace. Come home with us tonight. When Ava's discharged, please, I want you there. Lily nodded, tears falling for reasons she finally understood. I'll be there. As dawn brightened the hospital windows, they stood together, a man learning to be whole again, a woman learning she was worthy of being chosen, and a child glowing softly between them like a small, beating star dot. And when they finally walked out of the hospital as three, not a couple, not a family, but something tender in between, Lily knew the moral of their story wasn't complicated, It was simply this. Sometimes life breaks you, so the right people can find you in the pieces.